Today, I'm finally going to start reviewing some of the coasters I've ridden in America. For this first review, I wanted to give my thoughts on an iconic Six Flags attraction. Built in 2000 at Six Flags New England, Superman the ride immediately made a big impact. For years, this Intamin mega coaster consistently ranked as one of the best coasters in the world, whether you look at the Golden Ticket Awards or the Mitch Hawker poll. With the length of the ride, the quantity of airtime moments in the ride manufacturer, you have all the ingredients on paper for a very exciting coaster. However, in the past few years, Superman's reputation seems to have waned a bit. More and more people say it isn't running as well as before, or that it doesn't live up to their expectations. So how do I think Superman holds up, and is it still a breathtaking ride? Allow me to talk you through the ride experience. Despite opening the same year as Millennium Force, Superman the ride uses a traditional chain lift hill. Obviously it's not as quick and dynamic as the modern Intamin cable lifts we're now used to, but I actually really like the long climb to the top of this coaster. You get an impressive view on the river to your left. The classic John Williams fanfare plays along and really builds up my excitement for a ride every time. It becomes even better at night, when you see also the whole park set alight. The main drop on Superman looks cool but isn't the most intense. You don't get crushed into your seat at the bottommost drop unlike on Expedition G-Force or El Toro, and the angle of descent isn't that steep either. However, I really like the inclusion of a tunnel. Not only it's visually impressive, it also makes such a deafening noise when the train breezes past the tunnel. Right after that, you go over the first airtime hill, which again is good but not as forceful as later Intamin in my view. Then you have an overbank turn which is taken at really good speed. There's an S-turn and a little dip afterwards that do not really do much, they're more like transition elements. Unlike the next two big airtime hills that are just phenomenal in my eyes. The second of those camelbacks in particular consistently delivered fantastic ejector airtime. For me, it's easily the most memorable part of the ride and one of the most enjoyable moments of airtime I've ever experienced. So far, the layout has basically been a regular out and back. However, in its second half, Superman turns into a spaghetti ball configuration, which I found really enjoyable too. It begins with an S-hill that is completely devoid of airtime or snappiness, but it does have some surprising fun laterals. The train moves onto a couple of helixes with a good airtime hump in between. I found those two spirals not extremely forceful, a bit like on Goliath's. It's only moderate intensity really. Another good airtime hill follows though, before you dive into the second tunnel of the ride. And again, I truly like the visuals and noise this type of scenery creates. It's also a pretty practice spot. The ride ends with the usual bunny hops found on other Intamin mega coasters. The first one has barely any airtime, but the other two are pretty good. Classic ejector moments that provide a fitting conclusion to a superb layout. Now let's talk about perhaps the biggest point of criticism this coaster gets, the restraints. As you may know, Superman's train have been retrofit several years ago. Instead of the original Intamin T-bars, passengers are now secured with two bars on the side, and for some reason there are also small metal plates added to the bars with some really awkward rods to stick it all together. I happen to be very skinny and my knees go right between the two rods, so the restraints do bother me a little bit, but it's not ruining the experience for me as it seems to do for other people. I agree that those lap bars are well below the current standard in the industry though for restraints, especially since Intamin now make great restraints as seen with Tahoe. I think and I hope the park will one day fix the issue so that everyone can enjoy this remarkable and smooth coaster. Time to wrap up my thoughts on Superman. Although it's not as sophisticated or relentless than some of the more recent Intamin rides, I am really a big fan of this classic mega coaster. It delivers a very satisfying amount of airtime with an inspiring layout, blending out and back and twister elements. I also feel the location nearby the river and the scenery work with the tunnels significantly enhance the overall experience. My two minor gripes with this ride is that the first drop could have been more intense and that obviously the current restraints need to be replaced and updated with a more comfortable alternative that would give you a much better sensation of freedom. But despite this, I had an amazing time riding and re-riding Superman last month. That's why I give it a 9.5 rating. It's a very exciting ride that's certainly going to rank very well in my top 20 coaster list coming in December.